Welcome to an all-new episode of the No Rules Podcast. I'm Aaron Hilton, as always, joined by my main man, Malik Smith. Malik, what's poppin', man?
Can't call it, big dog. How you feeling?
I'm always a mention of Benz's, my brother. Just getting over a little bit of a fever, a little flu-like symptoms, but like Jordan, I'm still gonna find a way to get it done. We still out here getting it done, and as you can see, I don't know if I'm putting up 38 minutes. If they let me play, I put up 38 minutes. Yeah, if they let me walk at the end, yeah, absolutely. 38 shots too, if they don't mind 20 of them missing. But for our special guest this week, Malik, we brought in one of my brothers from my time at ESPN. He has since gone on to do a lot of great things on the TV airways after spending 6 years out in the Bay Area in the great city of San Francisco. He is out in Philadelphia, 6 ABC, sports anchor / sports reporter, my dog, Jason Dumas. Welcome to the show. First time, man.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Long overdue. Hey, and Malik, thanks, man, for having me. Looking forward to talking some sports, chopping it up with y'all.
Yeah, man. We definitely couldn't pass up an opportunity to bring you on. Obviously, we'll get into what spurred this feature a little bit later on in the show. But to start it all off, I figured let's talk about the news of the day. The Knicks fired Tom Thibodeau. We're obviously recording this on Wednesday, June 4th. The news came out that Tom Thibodeau has been fired after 5 seasons with the New York Knicks. Malik, we'll start with you, resident New York Knicks fan. How are you feeling about the move?
I think I'm mixed in the sense that I'm surprised at the timing, considering less than 24 hours after, maybe 36 hours after the Knicks were eliminated from the playoffs. You would think the team would give it a little bit more time, but it seems like they kind of had an idea of where they were going to go with the head coach situation. I'm not really surprised because if you're a fan of this team, if you watch this team and you've seen Tibbs in action, there were some highs, obviously, like he certainly raised the floor of the team, but he had certain philosophies that he just was never, ever going to change. And I think some of those philosophies are the reason why the front office said, look, you're good enough to get us, close enough to the promised land, but I don't think you Moses, brother. You know what I'm saying? You ain't getting it.
Yeah, and Jay, you got to kind of see the second half of this happening to what happened with Mark Jackson when he got let go and Steve Kerr got brought in, took over the Warriors and then took them over the top. Are you thinking this is a similar type of action, or do you think this was a necessary move, or was this something that's more reactionary?
I do. I think they peaked with Tom Thibodeau for a couple of reasons. One, kind of similar to Mark Jackson, Tom Thibodeau just has a personality that wears on people. And he's a good dude and everything. No one's saying he's not, but we all have coworkers who can just be exhausting. And he kind of has that personality that can wear on people. He had the vote of confidence from Jalen Brunson, which you would think means a lot, the franchise player, but not all the other players love the guy. People, in the front office, kind of my way or the highway type, kind of like very uncomfortable conversations. If you're trying to get him to change up his ways, he's very, very headstrong. And sometimes it's like, when your bosses want to collaborate and you're just like, nah, this is how it's going. It's like, eventually they're like, all right, we got to get somebody else in here who like, almost like respect our G a little bit more. You know what I mean? So there's that. And like the Knicks are good. They have a really talented roster. And even though I see a lot of people like, yo, like they had the best season in 25 years and they fired the guy. Like, I think the playoffs are kind of like just matchup based. So like even though they did have the best record in the last 20 or the best season in the last 25 years in Knicks history, I don't think anyone thought they were going to win a championship. Like I think if they were on the other side of the bracket, maybe they lose. Maybe they lose in the semifinals, or maybe Tatum doesn't get hurt. Although they probably would have won that series anyway because Tatum got hurt late in the game and they already had a commanding lead. But I like they got to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't think they were close to winning an NBA championship.
Like they didn't overachieve for what they were supposed to do. They weren't really reaching through
Right. It's like
past what they could do.
y'all had a nice season, but you guys were probably never going to win it. I do think a fresh voice would do them well. I really do. He just seems like one of those guys who's a little too stubborn in his ways. He's not really flexible, and sometimes that's what you have to be to like reach the promised land. And also, like as we all know, we all work in corporate America. You also just have to coexist with your bosses and not like always just be like this with them when you guys like you gotta give a little. And he's one of those like, nah, we're doing it this way.
Right, and I think that to another extent, it also kind of it's very telling that the way that they lost to the Pacers, it was a lot about the discipline. It wasn't necessarily scheme based in the fact that Rick Carlisle was just coaching circles around him because of like X's and O's. It was simple effort stuff. You're getting beat on fast breaks off just like leak outs.
Like 6 guys.
Yeah, when you're playing your top 7 guys 45 minutes a game, and then you're going against a team of younger players, fresher legs, and they're 9, 10 deep, and it's like, okay, yeah, is the 9th player on the Pacers better than the 6th player on the Knicks? Probably not. But if he's fresh and the 6th player on the Knicks just got out of like 2 6+ game series that were grueling, where he had to play 30, 40 minutes a game, that's going to be a lot harder, and your legs are going to be a lot heavier, especially when you're grinding out offensive possessions. And then also, what's not been told is all of those games that they won, they're coming back from double-digit deficits. That's like an extra game in and of itself. So your legs are a little bit heavier. You're working a little bit harder to do the easier things. So I think it was definitely time for a fresh face. You never want to see somebody just lose their job. I don't think just saying like, hey, good riddance to Thibodeau is a respectful thing. I think this could be like a respectful parting of ways, I think, for both the Knicks franchise and for the fan base. I think they can appreciate what the man brought to the fans, bringing you to the Eastern Conference Finals, giving you 2 straight 50-win seasons, beating the Celtics in the playoffs, which is no small thing. But yeah, like you said, when it's time to go, it's time to go. And hopefully the person that they bring in, you've got a new standard to uphold now. This isn't the same Knicks that Thibodeau took over. This is now their expectations here. You have the bones here. It's been proven that these guys can win. Now it's about elevating what Tom Thibodeau already set the ground floor at.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And, there's some names that are already being thrown out. I think it's a very, very desirable situation. You have a good roster. Obviously, it's in New York. So yeah, that's a great job. It's one of the best jobs in the NBA, obviously, if you can coach a winner in New York, and they already have a team ready to win. So whoever gets that job, pressure is going to be on, but it's a great job to have.
Who would you pick for the job, Malik? If you're sitting in Leon Rose's seat, who are you taking to take over your franchise?
I mean, I think it would be tough to say continuity, considering you just fired your coach. But one of the difficult issues with having Tibbs as the head coach is that he didn't really have a stable of guys under him that were ready to.
There's no Tibbs tree. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he has guys. Dice Yamamoto is I hope his last name is Yamamoto. No, it's first is Dice. Anyway, he coached the summer league team. He's a good young assistant coach. They had some other assistant coaches. Some of them were older, some of them younger. Obviously, Rick Brunson, Jalen Brunson's dad, he's worked with Tibbs for a bunch. But like none of those guys were ready to step in and be the head coach. The only person who I think the organization would have even considered currently is under the Cavaliers staff, Johnny Bryant, who I loved and who people for the past 2 to 3 years before he left New York were saying that they wanted to be the coach, which people thought was ridiculous because he hasn't had a head coaching job. But I think he's a young guy who should get an opportunity. He didn't get the job in Phoenix. They gave it to the other Cavaliers assistant coach who was out for the job. To me, I think if we're going with a guy who is a former player, and has a lot of assistant coaching experience, I really like Sam Cassell. I think players would respect him. He's worked under Doc Rivers. He's worked under, obviously with the
Ty Lue.
Ty Lue was on the staff. I don't think he was under Ty Lue the whole time, but he might have been there a couple of years with Ty Lue.
I think he was. I think like maybe with the Clippers. I think maybe
he
for
might
a year
have
or
been there
two.
a couple of years with Ty Lue. So I mean, he's been around the block. He's played the game, right? And he's a guy that I think the players would respect. He's a guy that I think could just bring a new voice. With this team, obviously defense was an issue to some degree. But really, to me, the issue was the fact that you have all these offensively talented players and you couldn't maximize that. I mean, they had the third best offense in the league for most of the season, but it really wasn't as good as you would expect it to be considering all the offensive talent that they have. They never really maximized the Towns Brunson pick and roll. They never really had anybody else running pick and roll with Towns except JB. And I just feel like there was a lot of meat left on the bone for the offense. So I would like a coach who's established in terms of has been around the NBA for a while, who understands look, to win in this city, I got to be tough enough to handle the media. I got to be tough enough to handle players, the owner, front office, all that stuff, right? I think Sam Cassell, the guy who invented the big balls dance, I put a lot of stock in his ability to sort of block out the noise and kind of handle that. And I mean, you kind of brought it up from the jump, right? The situation you want to emulate is the situation in Golden State, not just because obviously they're, a winning franchise after Steph Curry and Splash Brothers and all that. But you had a coach who was really good, who everybody loved, who you got rid of for other reasons, but you got rid of Mark Jackson for certain reasons. You brought in a guy in Steve Kerr who'd been around the NBA, who, played in the NBA. He's actually in the front office before he got
there. Yeah, with the Suns. Yes.
You know what I mean? So somebody who, quote unquote, doesn't have the experience, who actually was supposed to be the head coach of the Knicks until he picked the job for Golden State. Smart move by him.
Very smart.
Yeah. So the only other person that I would say, and it would be difficult for this to even happen because he's currently under contract, that I would be interested in is Jason Kidd. If he says hey, the Luka thing was kind of weird and I kind of want to distance myself from the team for that. Or he's just yo, I don't know where we're going. Are we rebuilding with Cooper Flag? Are we trying to win the championship with AD? Kyrie's still hurt. He might see the writing on the wall and be even if this turns out okay, I'm probably going to get moved because Cooper Flag is, 19 years old. And I'm not going to do that.
Jay, who would, I guess since we're Sixers fans, Jason, not who would you most like to see? Who would scare you the most from a Philadelphia 76ers perspective, or from a perspective of a team that's going to have to go up against this talented roster? Who do you think would get the most out of this team that should make other Eastern Conference teams a little more frightened of the Knicks?
Probably Mike Malone. Former Nugget, he's native New Yorker. He gets the pulse of that fan base. He gets the media market. He has championship pedigree. He's another guy who could wear thin on you after a while. That was kind of his demise in Denver. But I don't think he can get much better than that in terms of you just look at the resume. He probably has the best resume out there. But I also do like the idea of Sam Cassell. He's a guy who they loved him in Philly when he was on the Philly Sixers coaching staff. And he's been supposedly interviewing and close to getting jobs for 3 off-season cycles now. So I would like to see him break through. He has the temperament for New York. Like you said, Malik, the originator of the big balls dance. Because it's true. The guy he's not going to be getting caught up in the media and afraid to make bold moves. So I would love to see Sam Cassell. So either Sam Cassell or Mike Malone. I think those would be two really good names. I mean, they're thrown out, and I'm hearing this a lot. Not insider information, just seeing across the media, and you hear it a lot because of where I live. A lot of people are saying Jay Wright.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah, I don't love that.
I don't think he would want to do it. Like
That's too much Villanova. Like it's just one. It's college.
he's had his
College.
opportunities to come to the NBA. He's had his
Yeah.
opportunities to go to the NBA. He's turned them down. I don't think now is the time where he would magically be like, okay, now I'm ready. Like I think he's like upper 60s now, and like that man has it good. He's just
Right. He's on the CBS broadcast. He's still close to the game he loves, but he can spend the time with his family, which is, one of the reasons he said he was ready to hang it up. And I'm sure, dealing with the incoming NIL and that whole situation was probably exhausting for him to have to deal with. And, dealing with young millionaires in the NBA, it's just an offshoot of that. So, I don't see how that would be appealing. I don't really remember outside of like Brad Stevens, the last NBA head coach that just came from college and immediately killed it or did what they did in college in the league.
Billy Donovan had some success.
He did. It wasn't as successful. Like he was eventually successful. He was good and consistent in Chicago, but like, and in OKC, but like the immediate Brad Stevens from Butler to the Celtics, to the front office of the Celtics when he brought up Ime Udoka. I just think it's hard to replicate that. Even if you include Billy Donovan, that's two. You know what I mean? It's very rare. It takes a different type of person to take over an NBA franchise. And I think coaching college and being successful in that is a very different beast.
I also feel like that just feels like a lose-lose situation for Jay Wright, because obviously you come in, you want to win the championship, right? Like you feel like you have a team that is good enough to compete with the final four teams in the NBA. But if you don't win it, and you don't win it with your guys that you won the championship in college, like it becomes even more of wow, huge fan.
Well, I mean, he obviously has to bring in Chris Jenkins for like last second shots and everything like that.
He got to bring the Pope. He got to get the Pope to sit front row. I mean, everybody's going to expect all of this craziness from Villanova.
Chris Jenkins ain't in playing shape, bro.
He wasn't in playing shape when he hit the shot.
He ain't good. Another name I saw thrown out there that people were talking about is interesting is John Calipari.
Nah. He has had a cup of coffee in the NBA. I don't know if that's going to work for him either. I think he's too dominant. He's too college.
It's him and Leon, him and World Wide West.
Right? Yeah. That kind of connection.
I think it's more so that than like anything he's done or big sexy name. Like they are like this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, it's any name because it's New York. And because it's, Madison Square Garden and it's the big bright lights and there's no market bigger, if you want to make a name for yourself in the sport of basketball, if you want to elevate your profile, there's no better place to do it than doing it for the New York Knicks, and bringing them a championship would mean more to that city than I would argue probably anywhere else in the NBA, aside from maybe if Seattle got a franchise back or when Seattle gets a franchise back. But to that end, Malik, I want to kind of clear out for a minute or two here and kind of give you a chance to eulogize your New York Knicks in the season that they had. Because I know when we had you and Yao on, you were saying that the baseline for success was make it to the finals, but the real sign of success would be to finish the job and to win the title. I didn't want to be a hater at the time, but I did in my head think that this was just a bad matchup for you guys with the Pacers. That was my choice, so I wasn't necessarily surprised by this. But just from your perspective, how would you eulogize this season? Do you feel like the Pacers were just a better team? Did you guys end up blowing it in game one and just couldn't recover? How are we feeling about this season looking back?
I mean, the season as a whole, because it's not just the way that it ended. I think you have to really look at the full season. I think what's interesting, I listen to a lot of people talk about the Knicks and the season and everything that happened. And then I listened to some of those same people in the way that they talked about the Timberwolves season. And like, there were a lot of people who were just like, oh, well, the Timberwolves, They had a great season. You put this team together right before training camp. How could you be disappointed in how it ended? And with the Knicks, it was just like, ugh, it was a lot of like hand wringing and like, I can't believe you guys lost. Obviously, game one, to me, losing game one in the manner in which they lost it, I think it at that point, you're climbing so far uphill in terms of the momentum and the emotional baggage that was left over after that loss, that it's really, really hard to recover, right? Granted, you got to win game two, and you lose that one too. So now you're down 2-0 going into Indiana, right?
Yeah, it was a wrap.
It was
I know
tough.
New York got they got some momentum, and people were believing. Once it was 2-0 going to Indiana, it was not a matter of.
Yeah, that shit was curtains. I'm not even gonna hold. Like, I'm surprised y'all even got game three. To be for real,
I'm not surprised.
They showed some heart game three, because if Indiana had got that one, it would have. I think it would have just been.
Hallie didn't show up at home. He wasn't ready for that light at home. He was kind of hearing some of the praise a little bit too early. Probably it was getting into his head because he has acknowledged that was what made him struggle earlier in the season, was reading into the headlines and people talking about him in the Olympic run and how he was kind of like the Christian Laettner of the gold medal team and wasn't getting any minutes and wasn't any good, and that was kind of adding to the negative start to his season. And once he shut that off is when he kind of took off and the team took off. But yeah, I mean, for me, if I'm looking back on this New York season, it is definitely an overall success. But if you're grading each stage at the moment that you get to it, at best it's a B, because when you get to where you get to and you're up against this Pacers team, and like you said leading into the series, this is the team that eliminated y'all last year. Game 7, your floor. And you let them come in game 1 and snatch your heart in front of Reggie Miller, and Halliburton does the choke sign. And it's important that wasn't the game winner, and they still went out and won the game, because normally that happens and it comes back to bite you in the ass, especially on the road. But he talked his shit. It was too early.
He talked his
Review
shit.
Came back. Foot was on the line.
Let's be clear.
And then they won.
He talked his shit because he thought that the game was over.
No, exactly. But that's what I mean.
He wasn't talking that shit when it was 0-0, as Michael Jordan said famously. But go ahead.
Well, that's great, but he gets the last laugh. And by the way, his social media since then has been some of the great troll videos. It was great.
That video was insane.
It was insane. That was fire. The 50 Cent "I Get Money" song. It was that was just chef's kiss. I'm just saying, if you're celebrating too early like that, and you're doing the choke signal and you're pointing to Reggie Miller and the whole thing, and then all of a sudden Kevin Harlan's like, "Hold up, they're going to review. His foot was on the line," a la Kevin Durant with Brooklyn a few years ago against Milwaukee. And the only reason why the Bucks have a ring. That's a game that you're supposed to come back and win. That's a situation where you're supposed to figure it out and finish the job, and you didn't. So that is where, for me, if I'm going max out for how I feel about the season, it can't be higher than a B, because you have to finish the job, especially against that team.
I all fair points, and as I said when we did our live recording, there were game 1. There were situations where I thought like the non-goaltend call that they just completely missed, right? Like little things like that. I'm not going to say that those overshadow all the things that the Knicks did wrong in the series. The turnovers were crazy. The runouts that they allow were crazy. In terms of just like the season as a whole, like I said, if we're grading the Timberwolves and the Knicks, who traded with each other on the same scale, they both got to the exact same spot in terms of making it to the conference finals, and they were just outplayed by a better team, a teams that played better as a team, right? I think still, when you really look at it, like these teams had to sort of, I don't want to say scramble, but like they had major changes right before the season started. They needed to do a lot of things just to get to the point that they got to. So, and then obviously they fired the coach 2 days
Yeah,
later. So,
I mean, B is a passing grade. It's a successful grade, but it's not an A because I didn't even give Minnesota an A, but it's like they lost
I
to
wouldn't give the team an
OKC,
A either.
so it's that.
Yeah, I wouldn't give the team
that's
an
where
A
it was.
either. I'm just saying in terms of the success that they were able to put together really in the playoffs, because I think the regular season they underachieved, if you ask me, right? I think you should have won more than 51 games with the team that you had. The playoffs is where I thought that they showed growth, but this team, they said it all year, they were built to beat Boston. I think their focus, and maybe this is another reason why Tibbs is no longer there, I think the team's focus and the coach's
Beat
focus
Boston.
was Boston's the best team. They just won the championship. We
Probably
are looking at them.
Boston in the a little later.
Exactly. They thought they would see them later in the conference, and they were ready for them, right? But and they were ready for Detroit too, sort of. Like Detroit kind of caught them, and they
blew a couple of leads at Detroit. Yeah,
but I think for whatever reason they went into that Indiana series, and they just weren't. They didn't have the same focus. Like, you can't tell me that you went into Boston and won games 1 and 2 at Boston Garden, but then you allowed yourself to lose game 1 on your home floor, then lose game 2, and still say that you had the same focus. That was disappointing. But yeah, I mean, if you want to give it a letter grade, sure, you can give it. I don't even think the letter grade matters. You can give it a C.
It doesn't. Yeah, no, it really doesn't. I mean, at the end of the day, I can't really say a whole lot. I'm a Sixers fan, and my grade was an F from the time that Jared McCain got hurt. So it's the only shining glimmer of hope is that the Dallas Mavericks inexplicably gave us Quentin Grimes for like a pack of bazooka gum and a left-handed oven mitt. So shout out to them for continuing to make dumb decisions.
Should be on the next.
Let's go on to the NBA Finals, and just quickly touch on that. Give it a quick preview. So we have Oklahoma City, the prohibitive favorite over the Indiana Pacers. A lot of people in Vegas taking Oklahoma City in 5 for the gamblers out there. I'll start with you, Jason. Just in this series overall, who you got? How many games?
I felt a lot better when I picked them. So soon as the Pacers went up on the Knicks 2-0, I sped to the casino and put in a future bet on the Pacers to win the NBA Finals. I just was loving the way they were playing. I was loving their swag, their synergy. They just seemed like they had the perfect chemistry going, where I was like, yo, this team is just, they're going to win the finals. I'm not as confident now for some of the reasons you said. Like, I'm big on reading body language, and like, it almost, when they beat the Knicks, it almost felt like that was their championship. They just seemed so satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wouldn't even, like, it was fucking awesome, but I wouldn't even have posted that if I was Tyrese Halliburton. Like that video about New York. It's like, yeah, bro, you beat the Knicks, that's cool, but does it even matter if you lose next week?
Yeah.
Like, I get the trolling, and like, I might be the type who just thinks too much into it, but like, I really do think it's like, mentally, when you have such a high and you invest so much in like the celebration after, to get ready and then go fly to Oklahoma and beat a team that won the most games in the NBA this season. So,
and most important, he didn't do that when he beat Dame Lillard and them boys. He didn't do that when he beat the number 1 seed in the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they're the 1 seed and won 64 games. So I get what you're saying, and I knew you were going to say that, because as many times as we've talked off air in the group chats and stuff, it's like that is like his number one. Like, you celebrating too early. I knew you was going to do that as soon as you said so.
Damn, bro, y'all gonna lose my money. It's just too, they're celebrating too early, so I don't feel good about it. But I'm still gonna stand on my bet. I got Pacers in 6. If they can bottle up what got them there, which is like synergy, poetry, like controlled chaos on offense. They can go deep. They need Nembhard to fucking wake up and make shots. He's one of those guys who's like, he's one of the X factors. Like, if he makes shots, he puts a lot of pressure on defenses, because he's usually the guy who gets left open. Just all the other options. So if he's making people pay, that really puts pressure on defenses. So they need like a guy like Nemhard Mathurin to play well too. Kid from Arizona. TJ McConnell's going to do his thing. He always does.
Big shout, TJ.
Hate that
Yeah.
guy.
So if those reserve guys, because I'm confident that Halliburton and Siakam will play well. They're good players, but they're definitely an underdog. But I got them at 6. I'm going to stay with it. They got to take one in Oklahoma City early, and then they'll go from there. I do think it's going to be a more competitive series than Vegas says. Vegas has OKC in 5. I think it's going to be a good series, but not feeling great about the pick just because of how they reacted after they beat the Knicks, like they won the fucking NBA Finals.
Yeah, Malik. What about for you? Who would you pick to win this series? And how many games?
Well, the last time before the playoffs even started, I told you I thought OKC was the best team in the league.
You did call that from jump. I said it was me and Maurice. I think it was it Maurice? Who was it that was on there? Jerv. Yeah, we said it was too early, and you were the only one that said nah, they're gonna do it. So shout out to you.
I mean, but listen, I'm not even gonna make it seem like I'm super smart. Just look at the body of work this season. Like
it's the glasses, man. It's make you smarter.
Thank you. No, I mean, but they've proven to be just an unbelievable team on both ends of the floor. I think, defensively is really where they've shined this postseason. They have so many guys who can just play defense like their life depends on it. And all these guys are young. They got fresh legs. You know what I mean? Granted, the tough part in terms of the schedule is done, right? So you got a lot of time in between games, but these guys can play heavy minutes and defend and move their feet and rotate. I think what Indiana does really well in terms of moving the ball and all of that, I think that the Thunder can easily neutralize that with their defense. And then like a hockey team, it's like line change. Okay, we tied out Lou Dort, bring in Alex Caruso. You know what I mean? Like it just, they got so much depth that they can tap into from a defensive standpoint that I think it matches the depth that the Pacers can tap into offensively. I mean, Shea is just, to me, he's the best player in the league right now. I know that's crazy to say because Jokic is really good, but like, I'll say that he's my favorite player to watch that's not on my own team. Like, I love watching him play. I love watching him hoop. I think he takes them over the top in terms of their ability to beat any team. Now, I say all this with the caveat that, like, this is the finals. Neither of these teams have been to the finals. Like, I don't think any of the players on either of these teams outside of Siakam, Caruso, like, the role players, like the stars have not been in the finals before. So
Siakam is probably the only person that started an NBA Finals game on either of these teams.
Exactly. Caruso might have started game 5 or 6 of that series. I can't remember. But I mean, it was in the bubble, so people are not going to count it, but whatever. We're going to see how they really adapt to the peak level of pressure, because now you have all the attention on you. Every media outlet is going to be interviewing you before the games. There's so much more eyeballs on you. But I think Shea is the kind of guy who thrives in that type of pressure. We've seen Halliburton kind of be up and down in those moments. So, I mean, I got the Thunder. I think that the Thunder can probably take this in 5 if they play to their potential, which I think that they will. I think they're ready. It's going to be a big J-Dub series. He showed how good he could be when they had to close out the Timberwolves. He was fucking awesome. God. He was awesome in that game.
Yeah, I think, and that's where my head goes when I'm looking at this, because and I am going chalk. I am going OKC in 5, but it's really more because this is where the Pacers, to me, the only chance the Pacers really have in this series is if the clock strikes midnight on J-Dub, and I just don't think that it is, because I think he's the real deal. I don't think that, he's going to turn into a pumpkin. I think that what he's showing you is who he is. And last year, the lights were a little too bright and he shriveled a little bit. And sometimes it takes that time of stumbling to then step up and be that second fiddle, you know what I mean? That second hero that the OKC needs, when Shea shots aren't falling and he's not getting the calls. Well, here's J-Dub. or when, Hallie's starting to get it going on Lou Dort, and maybe Lou Dort's in foul trouble or whatever it is, and well, here goes J-Dub. He can go and guard him. Pascal, he's got 20 in the first half. All right, we'll throw J-Dub on him. He's got a 5-inch disadvantage, but it doesn't matter. He guards up. You know what I mean? 1 through 4, J-Dub is out there guarding him. So I think that for him, he is the X factor of this series, because if he is playing the way he's played all postseason, the Pacers probably, and just out of respect for how hard these guys have played, probably only win one game. And I would venture to guess it's only going to be the first game in Indiana. I think that first game in Indiana, like their second or third, they're at least their third finals game that they've ever hosted in that arena. As it being just their second trip to the finals as a franchise, I think it's going to be not noisy in there. I think the fans love this team. They're probably going to give Pat McAfee the mic again, and hope for better results than hope for better results than what happened last time he had the mic. But I just think it's gonna be an interesting situation for them. And then on the other end of that, the Indiana Pacers win with their depth and their athleticism, and that's something that OKC has in spades. They have depth, they have athleticism, they have shooting everywhere. And now with Isaiah Hartenstein, they have a man in the middle that allows that allows their other big to just rover around and be the shot blocker. Chet Holmgren can just do whatever he wants out there and be the weak side hellish defender that he's known to be.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I think if you look at it from the standpoint of like you said, let's say J-Dub doesn't have a great series, right? You still got to deal with Shea. And let's say Shea has an average series. You still got to deal with Chet. And then they still have guys coming off the bench who can contribute. So, if Halliburton doesn't have a good series, or if Siakam doesn't have a good series, you're banking on Nembhard and Nesmith and, Miles Turner to be the absolute best versions of themselves. And I'm not saying that can't happen. I'm just saying which one's more likely, right? Like,
exactly.
That these guys absolutely go nuclear and they're ready for everything. And the Thunder sort of shrink in the light. I mean, it certainly can happen, but I'd be hard pressed to believe that that's going to happen 4 times in this series. But we'll see. I mean, just you got to play the games. I said the same thing when people said the Knicks shouldn't even show up to to Boston Garden because they have no chance in the series. And I was like, well, they got to play the games, guys. I mean, they don't pick these series based on the pundits. So
you gotta show up and play. You gotta show up and play. Jason, you have any last thoughts on the finals before we move on to NIL?
No, it's just funny. Last time the Pacers played in the NBA Finals, 2000, I went to Game 1 in LA. I was out there. My babysitter at the time, 2000, I think I'm 5th grade. I'm in 5th grade because 01 was 6th grade. That's when the Sixers went. But I was in 5th grade. We had a long time. My family had a long time like babysitter / nanny, and she moved to LA for grad school, and she didn't really have anyone to help her move out to LA. So my family moved her out there because she was really close to our family, and we were out there. And my dad was like, "Fuck it, let's get tickets. Like, let's go to this game." So we went to Game 1, Pacers, and they just got their teeth kicked in by the Lakers.
And, that's prime Shaq and Kobe, man.
Like what's his name? Jalen Rose was like their best player. Reggie Miller was the name, but Jalen Rose was like
he was their best player, point guard.
So
I would love to know.
Jalen Rose, one of my favorite players of all time, 6'7" lefty. So he showed me that it could be done.
Yeah, facts.
His dad went to Providence College too, by the way. So that's
he hates his dad, right?
All right. Well, He's
like, yo, that's why I don't wear his number.
He wore it backwards, to spite him. So thanks for that, Jason. Appreciate it. Shout out to 401.
I would love to know what them tickets cost compared to what these prices were that I was looking at for these last.
And that's in LA
final series, yeah.
They were probably a grip. I remember my dad just being on some like like, let's just splurge. We out here, you know what I mean?
Once in a lifetime, let's take the
He had
opportunity.
never hit like Staples Center. That was Staples Center was
Brand new.
relatively new
Yeah.
at that point. So he was like, come on, we out.
Right.
Love it.
That's awesome, man. That's honestly, that wasn't. I think that was the first year that it was the Staples Center. I think that was the first year that they moved off the Forum, right?
Might
Yeah,
be.
because I think they said, yeah, I think she said that the owner, she said that the first year that they left the Forum, they won the championship, and that's what helped the fans adjust a little bit to moving from the LA Forum. But now on to what really got this feature started, what brought you on to the podcast. We were talking in our group chat as we normally do, and we have some really heated debates in there. But the one that we had been going back and forth on the other day was the NIL and what it has done to college athletics, and more specifically, the collective, as they called it on the Gills Arena podcast. I don't know what people want to call it, prognosticators, but not necessarily the name, image, and likeness, but the boosters and the schools taking their funds or using their rich donors to pay some of these kids to play for these programs, and how that is affecting college sports in a negative way. So to start that off, I'm going to give the clear out to you. How do you feel that this new landscape in this pay-for-play college sports thing, how do you think that it's starting to poison the well for these kids?
Well, I thought about this for a while because I was like, this topic has so many layers to it. We could go on for an hour just talking about this. So I wanted to like simplify it in a way to kind of consolidate the conversation and really hammer home my points in like an efficient way. In a vacuum, I want these kids to get paid. I want them essentially these college athletes should have the right to earn money off of their name, earn a living. Like at one point, like they weren't even allowed to like have jobs, but they should essentially be just like any other student, you know, like a student in like a student in the business school can sell his app and become a millionaire while still in school and can still go to school and do whatever. You know, some of these Olympic sport athletes, they have lanes where they can make money and still have some amateur status if they're like, you know, some of these Olympic type sports. But, you know, football, basketball, the two heavy hitters, they never could do that. So I was always for they should be able to make money off their own name. That's what capitalism is. That's, you know, that's apparent, quote unquote, the American dream. That's what so many of these politicians tell us. I think that is all fair game. There has to be, it has to be all of them. Like essentially what it's turned into is pay for play, which creates it just creates an unfair playing field. Now I know, like, obviously, like, you know, Colgate, Lehigh, Lafayette, a team in the Patriot League, traditionally is never going to compete with the Blue Bloods. I get that. But now it's even separated like the Power Five schools. Like you see the SEC schools, like the SEC was never really a basketball conference. It was always a football conference. But when you have the football money, you can run everything. We just saw the SEC have a record number of teams in the NCAA tournament. That's not because all of a sudden it became a basketball conference. It's because these schools like Texas A&M and Auburn, Alabama, you know, the list goes on, Florida, they have pockets. They have football money. They can go holler at, hey, the Todd Golden over at Florida. They just got this kid from Princeton who's really good in the Ivy League, Asian kid, kicking ball. Todd Golden probably holler at somebody in the athletic department. Yo, go get that oil tycoon who donates $5 million every year and he doesn't even feel it. Can you go get him? Can he give him $250,000?
It's the same way they took Walter Clayton from St. John's.
It's like the kid probably won't. Like the kid might not even start. He might not even start. We don't know how he's going to pan out, but you're not going to feel that. Just give him $250,000. Boom, buy him. It's like it's getting to a point where it's like crazy, and I just think if these kids want to sign contracts and be pros and go make money and do endorsement deals and blah blah blah, do it. But it can't be the school just handing them money. They got to go out and get that money on their own too, and get what they're worth. It's weird to say get what they're worth, because in a way it's like what someone is willing to pay you is what you're worth, but it's based on like an arbitrary number, because in no way or shape or form in like real life is that, in like the real world, not in this imaginary like Monopoly college money, but like in the real world, he's not worth that. He's not. But it's like kind of it's Monopoly money, really. Like they're just going to throw it at people. So essentially, like it's not college sports anymore. It's not. I do think there should be a difference between an amateur and a professional. Even if the amateur gets watered down because all the top guys just go pro and go to some other league that they might start so they can actually really become pro, I would
Right.
be fine with it. But now it's just muddled up. It's like they're calling it amateur sports and it's still the NCAA, but it's really not. It's
But
like a
it's
pro league, and
I
then
would
you
argue
have
that it's never been that. And the problem is it's not that what you're saying is wrong. It's that the hope for what you want will never be achieved, because in order to achieve true amateur athletics, you can't pay an amateur head coach of an amateur program $10 million a year. You can't, because it's not amateur anymore. Because now you have very, very real money, better than some pro, like Ime Udoka, who's one of the best coaches in the NBA, doesn't make as much money as Coach Calipari, who has been unceremoniously removed from a couple of different programs and left their campuses on fire, figuratively. So, you know what I mean? Allegedly. So, like, there are things that go on with these coaches once you start to open up the checkbooks to them and then give them all this kind of power, and they bring these kids and in one way, shape, or form, these kids and these 13 to 15 kids then determine how much this coach is paid and what this coach's legacy is and the indelible mark that he puts on a program. Like, Jay Wright is still the same person if he doesn't get Jalen Brunson to go to the school, if he doesn't get Randy Foye to go to the school, if he doesn't get Kyle Lowry to go to the school, but he did. So now he's a legend with, what is it, 3 rings at Villanova? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something that Villanova.
no,
But
that's a skill.
I know, but that's what I'm saying is yes, you recruited those players, but also those players were needed to give you that sort of legendary stat. It doesn't make you necessarily a good person. Jay Wright is a good or a bad person all on his own accord, but it is a marriage of two things: a player's skill and a coach's ability to reach that player, and also the ability of the team to bring the best out of that player, and vice versa, the player out of the team. So everything works in concert, and because of that, I think that money has to be shown, and it's going to come in droves, because college sports brings in millions and millions and millions of dollars. And the problem is the NCAA has hidden behind this amateurism shield to keep the players from being able to reach their full earning potential, from being able to unionize, from being able to have a CBA, to be able to police this sort of thing. Because I actually agree that it is poisoning the well. But what I'm not willing to do is then say that it needs to revert back in any way, shape, or form, because this is the seeds that the NCAA has sown over multiple years of wrongdoing and of taking eligibility. Like, Reggie Bush had to give his Heisman back because he got, like, what, a car? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
very stupid. Very
Like,
stupid.
all these people, like the Ohio State kids got tattoos and they were ready to, you know what I mean? Like, the Fab Five had to have their banners taken down because they wore black Nike socks and all this other. Like, it's the most, or they got a favor from a local guy who was always giving back to kids, not just them specifically. You know what I mean? So, like, those types of things are happening, and it's messing with these kids' abilities, and it's changing the way that people on the outside look at these kids and might think about these kids, and it's unfair. So if you would allow them to unionize, if you would allow there to be a governing body to keep there from being this Wild West type of situation where you could have a 26-year-old Tyler Shuck in his like 7th year of college football, shouldn't happen. Injuries happen. If you get hurt and you miss your fifth year of eligibility after your medical red shirt, you know what? It sucks, but unfortunately, that's life. If you fail out of school because you got drunk one night and you overslept and you got a 0 on your exam and that was the last straw and you lost your scholarship. Guess what? That just, you know what I mean? It happens to a lot of college kids, but it happens. You play football, you get hurt. You're still going to be able to be the same guy, but you don't get to continue to play college sports, until you're damn near 27 years old. That I don't agree with, and I'd like to see that part of it change. The freedom of transfer. I want to see these kids sign contracts. That's what I want. I want it to get to a point where you sign contracts to go to a school, because when you sign to go to that school and you can just go and then leave in the middle of the year like the UNLV kid did, the UNLV quarterback before Haj Malik took over, that's what's really messing things up for me, is that you have these kids just leaving after a year because like somebody else is willing to pay them more. And I just think that that's teaching people the wrong thing. You know what I mean? Like go and figure it out. You're worth your money, but like at the same time, if it doesn't work out in the first year, it's okay. There have been people before you that didn't figure it out in the first year, and that turned out just fine.
Yeah, Villanova just signed a kid who's on his fifth school in 5 years. It's like insane. And I know,
is that the kid from St. John's, Kadari?
Yeah, no, Kadari's gone.
Oh, Kadari's gone.
But Kadari,
he's another one.
His first school was Syracuse.
Yeah.
I mean, that feels like forever ago.
As it was.
Like my thing is this. Look, if I was the NCAA, people would probably hate me for it, but if I was the NCAA president, here's what I would say. Look, we messed up years ago. Like you said, Terrell Pryor losing eligibility for getting tattoos, Reggie Bush getting a house, whatever the case might be. Like we didn't allow you guys to make money. So you guys went and made money secret ways and got yourself ineligible. We never should have put you in those situations. Go out, make your money, do commercials, endorse companies, do meet and greets, do signings. I know you mocked the signing thing when I said to you in the DM, Aaron, but that's big business. Those people make a lot of money signing those cards.
Yeah. They do, yeah.
But do whatever. Obviously, within the rules of your team, like you can't be missing practice to go do a shoot for Gatorade. Do whatever. These schools, these boosters, they're not paying you shit. They're not allowed to give you anything. You got to go make your own money. And if that's not good enough, go play overseas. Go try to, get eligibility to play in the G League. But you guys can go out and try to make a living for yourself, just like any other student in our school can go out and try to make a living for yourself. If you don't like it, go play somewhere else. We're not forcing you here. I promise you, we will be fine in the long run. The competition might lower. Like you might see top 50 guys maybe go overseas because maybe they can make a little more, like with real pro contracts and stuff. But you're still going to get some talented guys, and you're going to get guys who probably stay 3-4 years, and even at these power schools, and everything will balance itself out. But once you start getting this NIL fund and this school can get through this loophole and that's just when it gets crazy. It's hard to regulate. So I would put a hard line in the sand. No school can give you money. No school is going to pay you. None of their boosters is going to pay you. You can go out and make whatever money you want. You can market yourself, do whatever. But we're not paying you. That's not what amateurism is.
Right, Malik. Do you have any feelings on this?
Well, the thing is, I mean, this has become such a conversation over the past few years. I'll say one thing and then I'll ask a question, because I as noble as it is to want this to stay quote unquote amateur, I think the cat's out of the bag. And when money's involved, no one's ever gonna say no. Like it never goes backwards when it comes to money, right? So as much as I commend you for the stance, I don't see how anyone says, hey, you know what, let's actually not have more money be funneled into this thing. And rightfully so, right? Because you put a cap on it for so long that like guys are gonna go crazy when the opportunity is like, oh, like you said, let's just throw them $250,000. Like that's pocket change for you. That being said, I think that the key word that you said was regulation, right? To me, and I don't know if maybe this is how it's supposed to work, or there's some sort of maybe you can answer this, but is there a third party involved between the NCAA, the schools, and the players or whatever that can sort of, be the mediator in between, these payments? Because I do agree with your point. Like, it is kind of crazy for a school to just be like, we're just going to give you money to come here and leave that other place.
And that's where we need a commissioner.
Right. Yeah. That coupled with the rules where you can just kind of transfer whenever you want. Like, it does feel like the Wild West. To me, it's like, okay, well, maybe if you put a cap on the amount that you can pay any student, that could at least level the playing field. So a St. Bonaventure has the same, ability to pay. Like, look, the most we can give you is $100,000, and that goes into escrow, and you can't get it until you graduate, whatever the case, right? Like, so do you really feel like regulation is, I know you said it's hard. Do you think it's impossible and that it's not worth trying to regulate? Or
I think you're right in the sense of that we're in the deep end now without a life jacket. Like, it's kind of like sink or swim. So it's going to be hard to, like, once the cat's out the bag, it's going to be hard to grab that cat by the tail and try to stuff him back in the bag. I think we're kind of past that point. I do think the transfer rules is something that they can dial back. But we're still going in the back, like, in the wrong direction. I know you have strong opinions about, like, ages in college sports. Like, about 3 to 4 months ago, they just ruled that now you can go to 2 years of junior college and then get to a 4-year school and be a freshman.
Exactly.
Where it used to be you're a junior, you lose. Now you can be a freshman. So, and I deal with a lot of young kids. I cover a lot of high school sports. These high school seniors aren't even getting scholarship offers anymore.
Right. It's the problem.
High school kids.
The problem becomes for me is, and where I get angry at it, because again, I am a purist college basketball fan, because I miss the rivalries, and I miss when the rivalries meant something. And it's two-ended. The kids screwed it up after the adults started screwing it up. When they started changing the conference and the conference realignment started, that was the adults screwing things up, right? And now we're to a point where Stanford's in the ACC, which is ridiculous, right? So because the ocean is Pacific over there, so the Atlantic, whatever. So you have those issues with the conference realignment, but now, like you said, with JUCO and stuff, first of all, these kids that are coming into school, like, it was breaking news that, Jeremiah Fears from Oklahoma and that Cooper Flagg for Duke were, like, actually 17 turning 18, or, some kids were 18 turning 19 as freshmen, because a lot of freshmen are like 19 turning 20, or some of them are coming into school already 20 and turning 21 over the summer, but they're classified as a freshman and a reclass because they've been in high school for 6 years. You're going against grown men. And anybody that's, been 18 before knows that if you're at the gym or at the YMCA or LA Fitness and you're playing against a 20-year-old, like, yeah, it's a 2-age gap, but if we're both freshmen, that 20-year-old has got a leg up on me because he's got 2 more years of real adult development on me. So if you're going to now allow a kid to go to JUCO, let's say he starts at 19, now he comes over to a major university like Florida, and he starts as a freshman at 22. When you have a senior on your team who's 22, 23, I graduated from Hampton at 23 years old, and I had just turned 23 before graduation. There's no way that you should be a freshman on a college campus by qualification, athletic qualification wise, and be anything older than 20 years old. Really, you shouldn't be older than 19. I don't understand it, and it bothers me to its core. So that's why it was fun for me and you, JD, to have this debate, because I'm with you on every single step. It's just like Malik said, I'm not for the putting that cat back in the bag. I want to regulate the mistake that they already made by opening their wallets. So let's get a commissioner, let's get a CBA, let's get a governing body of some sort, and let's put a cap on this because the transferring every year is ridiculous. The new JUCO rule is preposterous. Having a 19-year-old freshman, period, is stupid. Just go to the draft. If you're going to graduate high school at 19, go to the draft. Like I don't need you on a college campus about to turn 20 talking about where's my biology 101 class at. Stop it. Like what are we doing? You know what I mean? You're supposed to graduate high school 2 years ago. You should be in your third year of college right now if you're 19 turning 20. It's the most ridiculous thing. But again, like I'm hopeful for the sport that I love to get back to a place where we can recognize it, and especially Jay, as a Syracuse grad, I'm sure for you would like to see some kind of normalcy come back to the sport that you love, and to see your team return to prominence. But it's going to be a long road. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to watch. It's not even like Duke UNC. I don't even get up for the Duke UNC games anymore. Like it's no longer after the Gerald Henderson punch, on Tyler Hansbrough. Like the rivalry just hasn't been the same.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's crazy. And like you said, with the ages, like I know it sounds harsh, but there should just be a age limit. Like everything ain't for everyone. Everything ain't for everyone.
Once you're 23, you can't play college sports anymore. Like that, you can't be.
I'll give them like 24 even. You got like 26-year-olds. You got like 26-year-olds.
Crazy, bro.
Playing college sports now.
Miami had a 29-year-old tight end in his 9th year of college.
It's getting really ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous. But, I mean, hey, I guess we all have to evolve because it seems like Malik said, that shit ain't going back.
No, yeah, no. The money's already out. They didn't already give you tickets to the show.
Yeah.
So Jay, as you are the authority on Philadelphia sports here on this at least current pod right now, we gave Malik a chance to give us the eulogy for the New York Knicks. I want to give a chance for you to give us the state of Philadelphia sports right now. You're back in your native town. Obviously, you've always had a pulse on the city, even when you were away, and now being so close to it and covering it day to day. What is the current state of Philly sports? And let's start with the Sixers. What do you want to see Philly do with that number 3 pick?
Oh, Sixers, man, they're in the dirt right now in terms of public perception, PR. They could use a good jolt of good PR. But the organization aren't helping themselves. Like I've been here 6 months now, and they just now I know, and I was told this before I came here or before I left, that I was spoiled in the Bay Area with Golden State. They have a top-notch PR squad. They do things the right way. Even when they're down, that PR team is working overtime. So I got here, and it's just like I just saw like they're not helping themselves here either. The access isn't great. And people's opinion of the Sixers right now, frankly, is just in the gutter. So all they can do is go up. This 3rd pick, I know Daryl Morey is shopping the pick. I've been told that by multiple people. That doesn't mean he will trade it, but they're open for business.
That's what a good GM does. Explore your options.
They're open for business. There's no guy in this draft at 3 where they're like, we're not giving up this pick. We need him. So I would not be surprised if they made a trade. In terms of the on-the-product team, it's like the Sixers have a good roster. They just need health, but that's a huge if, and it's all with Embiid. Doesn't sound good what he's going through. I'm not sure we're ever going to get an Embiid who can play regularly and be the guy we saw in the past. It seems like going forward, he's going to be a heavily regulated player. But it is what it is. So, I mean, they're kind of handcuffed right now based on Embiid's health. So the Sixers, while they're talented, they're probably the team right now that is like not
worst
really,
off.
Yeah, the worst off, and just from the city, just not in high favor. Then the Phillies, they're a good team, and last year was a disappointment the way they lost to the Mets. But baseball get weird. Like Phillies were better than the Mets all year, but then the Mets got hot late, and the Phillies have won championships that way. So it's like we get it. You know what I mean? But this year, that Phillies team is kind of like as of Tuesday, they had a 13-15 record against teams with a winning record. So this year they've just been beating up on bad teams. They lost. I know it's Wednesday, and I'm not sure this drops on Friday, but they just lost tonight. A walk off, lost 2-1 to the Maple Leafs. So.
Blue Jays, but yeah, like it's
Maple Leafs.
yeah, right, but yeah, Toronto. Yeah, all right.
But the Phillies, they're just they got the guys. They're just baseball is different. It's one of those sports. Phillies just need to get into tournament, and then anything can happen. Like I don't think anyone will be surprised they get into tournament and make a run. And then obviously with the Eagles, it's like you can't tell anybody shit about the Eagles, right?
Yeah. So no one's given up on Saquon quite yet.
I mean, he took a hit.
Yeah,
he took a PR hit when he rounded out his foursome on the golf course.
Tough.
He definitely took a PR hit. But he has a contingent. There's a contingent in this city that put him on a higher pedestal for him.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a volatile topic. But my main thing with Saquon is after the workload that he just got, I want to see if he's going to be able to stay healthy this year. I saw it firsthand with another guy who is similar to Saquon in both his career history and injuries, and also just from a talent perspective in Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. Christian McCaffrey had an all-everything season, led them to a Super Bowl. They weren't able to get to Super Bowl, but he was their bell cow. Like they used him for everything.
Yeah, now C-Mac is the man.
And then the next year, his body broke down.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't wish that on Saquon. Obviously, I don't want it to sound like I'm talking that into existence, but I'm worried that workload this past year will catch up to him this year. And if that's the case, then Jalen Hurts is going to have to really step up.
Yeah.
So we'll see. The culture, though, in the building, the culture is at an all-time high. So I just think even if they have some adversity from a roster standpoint, I think they have a good enough culture, strong enough personalities and voices in that building that they'll be okay, relatively speaking. I don't think they'll fall off a cliff. But, yeah, I think their floor is like a 10-11 win team, in my opinion. Almost like the Phillies. They have a roster. Just get into tournament and they can make a run.
Yeah, long as number 2 is lining up under center, man, you guys are in good shape, man. I will say Jalen Hurts he's the real deal. Number one. Yeah, number 1. Yeah, he was 2 at Alabama or something like that.
He was too early.
Oh, and then he switched to. Oh, okay. Then he switched to 1.
And Darius Slay was number 2.
Yeah, that's right. And now your receiver took him. The receiver took 2.
Yeah.
I just saw you posted it on IG. I saw you post about it. Yeah. So that's that's dope, man. But yeah, long as you got Jay Hurts under there taking snaps, man, he really keeps the ship steering in the right direction. So that's something that my Raiders could take a cue from. It's like get the right guy under center.
As long as you guys still got that illegal tush push. I think Saquon should be okay.
The Raiders voted against that.
There's them hits over the goal line.
It made me so sad that my Raiders voted against that. Like I wanted to hide under a rock. This is pathetic, honestly, for me. All right, so let's finish this off. A unique venture into dad rules for us this week. This is the first time Malik is not the least experienced dad in the room. As JD is waiting still to welcome his pride and joy, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks, hopefully he won't make him wait. But so won't put you on under the spotlight quite yet. I'll start it off. So for me, my dad rule is for this week: get to know the people who care for your kid. That's babysitters, that's teachers, that could be family members maybe that you're not familiar with, family members on the other side that maybe you don't know. Because it's just, it seems like a normal thing, but I'm an antisocial person. So, you guys wouldn't necessarily know that because I talk you guys' heads off because I love you guys. But with like normal new people that I don't really know yet, I'm like, I don't really have nothing to say to you. I just do drop off and leave. And then you start to think about it. And you're like, yeah, what do I know about the people that I'm dropping my kid off? I don't even know these people's names. Like, it's cool with certain coworkers, because like I'm only gonna see you at work, but like with my kid, you're spending a lot of time around my child, especially when they're at school. That's like 6-7 hours a day that you're with my kid. So I should probably at least know your name, and a couple of things about you. So I would just say, guys, it would behoove you learn about these people. And it's not just about you doing your investigation and your due diligence. It's these people work hard. It means something when you address people by their name. It makes people feel a little more welcome, a little more warm to you when you're greeting them and you're looking them in the eye. You have at least some bit of a repartee with that person. You don't have to invite them over to the cookout, none of that like that. But know their name, know a little something about them, have a conversation with them while you're waiting for your kid to come to the front, stuff like that. Malik, you'll get to know this because your son just started daycare and everything. And Jason, you'll soon learn this in a few months to a year. It's not easy that first day, but after a while you start to get used to it. And now I'm at the phase where, okay, she's moving up to the toddler room now, knocking on year 2. They're going to start to do some potty training with her at the school, the daycare. And I really don't know anybody's name except for the director of the program. So I got to get on that myself. Yeah, I got to get on that
Keep
myself.
your own advice, bro.
I know. That's why I put it on here. I gotta, now that it's on wax and I'm saying that, I gotta do it. That's really what it's about. I gotta take accountability because like this thing, and I have a repartee with the people. It's just like I can know everything about you and like an interesting story that you've told me, but your name is just like I don't know what it is. The names, I'm just not good with it. Malik, what you got for dad rules? You got anything this week?
Well, listen, I'm tapped in with all the shout out to Miss Jimena, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to
flexing on me. Cool, cool.
Shout
Got
it. Shout out to the other lady whose name I don't know, but you know what I'm saying? I'm tapped in. I'm
you working though. It's still like a week and a half, 2 weeks in, so
Yeah. Well, I feel like what. Here's the other thing that you'll learn. Jason, when you get to this point of daycare, is like when you do the drop off, because I feel like it seems to be all the dads do the drop off. Like, are we just
moms can't handle that?
We all just got the flex schedules or something.
Moms can't handle it.
I feel like they be kind of grilling me. They'd be like, "So everything's in here," and I'm like, "Oh, I think everything's in there."
Or second guessing yourself.
Mom packed the bag. So if it's not in there, it's her fault. My rule for this week is actually I'm a rerun one that we've already used. If you can't tell by the sound of my voice, I'm a little under the weather or recovering. Listen, man, I don't know what's happening in these daycare centers, but
it was a matter of time, Malik.
Get your vitamin C up.
Yeah, it's a matter of time. Take your multivitamins, dog. Do it now.
Vitamin C up, dads. It's rough out here. I had to Google what is walking pneumonia because I was like, am I like, is that what I have? And I'm pretty sure like there's a non-zero chance that I have walking pneumonia. Let's just say that. Like I checked off all the little symptoms and I was like, this all.
The WebMD is a slippery slope, dog. Get off the WebMD. It's a slippery slope.
It's tough. The Google AI results.
Yeah.
They die. But yeah, man, listen, you will definitely get sick from just the daycare center, which is crazy because my son, he's totally fine. So I don't even know if it was daycare that got me sick or if it was something else, but haven't really been anywhere else except
could have passed the germ from another kid that didn't get into his system. Because I think that's what got me sick is my daughter moving into that next room. New kids, new germs. Came back home. My body was like, oh, what's this? Now you're sick for 2-3 days and, just getting over it myself.
These kids, they're just carriers for germs. They might not even have them, but they just carry germs. It's
all they're good for is like cute videos and getting parents and other parents sick. That's what happens.
Straight
Oh
up.
God! So get that. That's something you have to look forward to, Jason. Just so you know, it's a lot of sickness.
I mean, it's
So
down the line. It's way down the line for you. Way down the line.
just get that cough button ready when you're sitting at the desk. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I guess my dad rule, I went back and forth on this because obviously I'm not a dad yet. So I've gotten tons of advice from people. So I was like, should I just pass on some advice I'd got? But I'm going to use something that I kind of just had to check myself for the other day because I got to start conditioning myself to start making decisions that will positively affect my son first and foremost instead of me. And so it's like this might even sound simple. So about a month ago, a couple of my college buddies and I we planned this golf outing to go golfing on June 8th. And I ran it, not ran it by. We planned it and we were ready to go June 8th. And I just mentioned to my girl, I'm like, yo, by the way, June 8th, I'm going golfing. I'm going golfing with Dan and Trav. And she's like, oh, that is the baby birthing class that we signed up for. I was like, okay, all right. She was like, but honestly, it's not that big a deal. It's like a 2-hour Zoom meeting. Go golfing. I'll just give you the cliff notes. It's not that serious. And she was honest. She wouldn't have cared. She wouldn't care if I went and golfed instead. But I was like, you know what? I got to start training myself to be like, you know what? This is more important. If I miss this class, is it the end of the world? No. You don't have to take some arbitrary class to learn how to change a diaper and stuff. People became great parents without fucking Zoom classes on how to change diapers. But when presented with a decision, what's going to benefit my son the most? Me going golfing with my friends, or me sitting in this 2 hour? Because there might be one thing I take away from this 2 hour meeting that might help. That this just some game that this instructor drops on me, and that might make my son's life easier one night because I learned how to burp him a certain way, and he passes that gas, and he gets right back to sleep. That I might not have picked up on if I didn't do that. So I'm just so I guess my daddy take is just for me at least, and you guys are already in this position and have already begun doing this, but it might just be a good reminder. Always think the decisions we make don't just affect us anymore. So even if it might sound like an arbitrary little selfish decision, I'm going to do this. Could I help Beanie a little with doing this, or can I help you know what I mean? Yeah, I could probably go out and booze tonight. She'll be fine. But you know what? I haven't read her a book in 3 days. You know what I mean? Something like that. So I'm just trying to condition myself because I have been my whole life I've been super independent, and I've always been big on I do what I want when I want.
Yeah.
I gotta start to break that. Gotta start to break that.
What's crazy, Jason, dog, and it's funny because again, and I've known you for over a decade now. It's going to happen for you as soon as you hear him cry when he comes into this. What it's indescribable, and I'm sure Malik can agree with me. Everything changes, and then it changes again and again and again. It's like what Seinfeld said on Wale's album is you can't be ready for it because it's growth. I love that quote because it's so true. You can't be ready for and he was talking about marriage in that situation, but in this situation it's about having a kid because you can't be ready for this growth. So your kid, I don't think I'm ready for it. You're never ready for your kid. You can think that you are, and then you're a terrible parent. You can think you're not and be a great parent. It happens all the time. And the best parents always have moments where they question themselves. For me, it happened as recently as this past season. During the basketball season, I work with the Atlanta Hawks. So there's 41 home games. They don't play a lot of playoff games because they haven't been that successful. But during those 41 games, I still have a day job as a restaurant manager. I still have other freelance and media opportunities that I've accrued in my single life being down here that I don't want to lose because I want a life past the restaurant business. But every game where I'm used to just picking these things up and getting as much money as possible, now I got to look back and be like, I live with my fiance and my daughter, and I have a primarily FaceTime relationship with my kid on most days during the basketball season, because every time I pick up a game, it's usually after a work day. And normally working a double is like, I'm fine. I get up at 8 in the morning. I don't get home till midnight, but working basketball games is easy for me because I love basketball. But it's like
Yeah.
saying goodnight to my kid over FaceTime when I've been gone since before she had to wake up to get ready to go to daycare is different. So like you said, when it comes into this next season, it's going to behoove me a little bit more. Like, I didn't like how that felt. I didn't like how it felt when Jasmine might have had a day when she's feeling overstimulated, and I got to sit there on the phone and tell myself so I can get through that shift. Oh, she's okay. She can get through it. She's strong. Until I don't feel like a piece of shit. You know what I'm saying? But like, in the end of the day, she's putting on a brave face because she knows that this is something that you need. So it's not always just putting those things to the side. It's understanding that you are a unit now. You are a team. So it's beautiful to hear you say that. But dog, I promise you, when Youngin gets here, like it's gonna feel so different, and you're gonna constantly have these changes and these adjustments, and even things that you feel so dead set on right now.
Yeah.
When you see his face, bro, it's like, is there? I really cannot wait. And Malik will know better than me because he has a son. So it's like,
I was about to say,
know,
Malik, do you have a boy or girl? You got a boy.
I got a son, and all of that is true. Let me tell you, and I say this hating it, what I'm about to say, because people said it to me, but I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna say it in a different way that other people said it to me, because the way people said it to me was like super annoying. Listen, man, when that lack of sleep kick in, bro, when that lack of sleep kick in, just remember all the things that you said. Like, meditate on them so that way they come up, because you're gonna want to be like Mr. Oh, I'm so zen and I know all of these things and I'm so knowledgeable. When that lack of sleep kick in, you be like, man, fuck this. Like, this is what is going on right now. This is tough. But it really is. I mean, it's the most fulfilling thing. It really is the most fulfilling thing. I can't say that anything has ever been as fulfilling as those moments where, I'm trying to get my son to take a nap and I'm humming to him, and like, just spending that time. And I've spent a lot of time with my son. I unfortunately haven't been working, for a couple months now. I got laid off, back in the winter. So, I basically said, I'm gonna just take this time and spend with my son. And, we saved on daycare up until the point that we put him in daycare. And I've been with him every single day, so it, as much as I, at some points was like, man, like, I don't think I can watch anymore, Miss Rachel. It's also a really beautiful thing that you get to spend a lot of time, and knowing how many other dads who worked a ton and didn't get a chance to spend time with their kids, you really do appreciate it. Here's the one thing I'll say to you, because time is coming up short for you. Spend as much time with your partner as you can pre-baby. Like, if you, obviously she can't drink, but like, go out to dinner, like, just do some stuff to the degree that she can kind of move around and walk around and she's comfortable doing all that stuff. My wife and I, we similar due date to same due date as you, actually. We thought he was going to come. I think that was a Friday. We thought he was going to come. He didn't come. We went out to get food Saturday, like, just, a little date. Like, okay, I'm off work, you're off work. Like, let's just go out. We haven't done that in a while. She had a zero alcohol beer. It was hot. It was a great day. It was like, oh, this is kind of fun. It felt like old times. Cause listen, once it becomes 3, the whole dynamic changes. The whole dynamic changes. And not necessarily in a bad way, but it just, if you're like, you're used to just being solo. I was the same way. I'm used to being solo. Then I met somebody who I loved, and it was like, okay, just the two of us for a really long time. And then there was a third party in there, and it's just like, huh? Because we don't have
a third party that needs you.
We didn't have any pets or anything like that. So I'm not used to anything else in the house except me and her. So when you have that third party in there, it just it's a beautiful thing, because there's just more love in the house and more love, in your space. But it takes some getting used to too, so enjoy just two of y'all just kind of kicking it, and soak that up as much as possible. And now I'm going to say the thing that I hated everybody saying to me: get as much sleep as you can, because you're never going to get sleep again.
Yeah, I'll say it like this: the way that my good friend and friend of the pod, Larray, said to me, "You're never going to sleep the same." Now, like I told you, because you did ask the sleep question. Maybe it was a couple of weeks ago, I think, in one of our group chats, to me, and I told you straight up, was like, I'm a bad person to ask because Beanie slept like an angel. Like she was 3, 4. We used to have to wake her up to do feeds. You know what I'm saying? So like we got our sleep, and we feel like if we do choose to have a second kid, we're gonna have to pay those repercussions, because that's just not the normal experience for a lot of parents. We didn't deal with colic. We didn't deal with fussiness and all that. When it was time to sleep, she would sleep. She's still like that. 8:30, it's bedtime. I'm ready to go to bed. She put herself to sleep. It's good. She's holding on to the passy a little longer than I'd like. We've had passy regression for bedtime and stuff. So I don't love that part of it, but we'll work on that. But what I will say is like, you just don't sleep the same, because now like I used to be a way heavier sleeper, but now like the littlest noises, you see like that's just.
Oh, my son already woke up once.
Yeah.
He already woke up once.
Yeah, like every time. It's just never. It's not, and like it's not only when he could have a moment, at the grandparents' house. You know what I'm saying? Big Al could come pick him up and be with granddad for a while. And, you and the lady can have a good weekend and stuff, and then it'll like hit you at 2 a.m. Like, this is when we normally feed him. You might like wake up real quick. You'll be like, oh, he's with grandparents. Like it hits you like that. So it's never quite the same type of sleep that you ever had before. And it's a beautiful thing, but damn it, sometimes it's fucking annoying. I will say that for sure.
Yeah, I need to get a good sleep in, like this coming weekend. Just sleep till fucking noon.
Yeah. Yo, just do one of those. Don't set the alarm. Just don't set the alarm. Don't go to sleep at a certain time. You know what I'm saying? You watching the game. You watching finals game 2 or whatever it is that you watching, and you just fall asleep whenever and then wake up whenever. You need at least one more of those nights, because it's not gonna happen for a long time after Youngin gets here. So definitely soak that up, man. But like, you're gonna be a great dad because you're a great man, and because you know what you're doing. I tell all my friends this who haven't had kids yet, and are getting ready to step into that role. I was just telling my friend Corey earlier when I was sitting in the car. I was texting him when I first got home. Is there is no better fit person to be the father to your son than you. It doesn't matter if me and Malik could give you the most sage advice that comes true on week 1 of you being a parent. We could not be a better parent to your kid than you. You could not be a better parent to our kids than us. And it's important for every parent to understand that, because especially with you, you have your family around you. You grew up here. You have so many people that love you and will imbue you with so much like wise and sage advice. And clearly, your parents did a beautiful job raising you and your sister. So that they know what they're talking about. But you also have to understand that there's a line, because sometimes the things that you want to do for you and your kid, or you and your lady decide to do for your family, might not jive with what they want to do or what they think is right or whatever. And you have to have that fortitude to come respectfully, obviously, but being like, respectfully, this is how me and my family do us. And it's not anything to say that you don't know what you're doing as a parent. It's not about you. This is how my family does this here. So just trust that you know what you're doing, even if it feels like right now that you don't. Because
nobody knows what they do.
Nobody knows, dog. You learn it on the job. It's one of those few that you're supposed to learn on the job. That's part of the beauty of it, man. That's where the growth comes in. It's gonna feel great. It's gonna feel great.
I was practicing putting in the car seat today.
Oh, dog, yeah. I was the swaddle king, dog. Like, Arya was swaddled up like a damn Mexican burrito. I thought I was, reaching back into, my grandfather was half Mexican, so I thought I was reaching back into their heritage for a second, man. That was like, hold up, this kind of tight, in a different life, me and Snoop Dogg could have been friends. I roll a tight book, you know what I mean? But it's Yeah, but I'm talking about it right now. It's like it's weird brags. You brag about weird shit when you're a dad. You know
Oh
what I mean? It's a weird brag. So like that's the other thing. You go start telling like me and T stories in the chat. That's like dad shit. You know what I mean? You be like, yo,
talk about your diaper changing game.
you know what I mean?
Like,
You be like, yo, it take a lady like 5 years to change his diaper. He ain't peed on me once yet. You know what I mean? I'm like that. He don't really. He
Watch
was
that, by
crying
the
when
way.
I got
Hey,
home.
listen, especially with boys, you got to watch that, yo.
Oh yeah, for real. As soon as the cold air hits,
they will pee on you. The boys will pee.
It's the cold air, bro. As soon as you open up that diaper, it's free game. You gotta like unhook it, let the air get in, but keep the diaper over the. You know what I'm saying?
I like to
let
sometimes I put a diaper under the diaper just to, you know what I'm saying.
Oh, I always do that. I don't ever. Yeah, I always do that.
Got to be quick.
And take everything from the hospital, dog.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? They give you like, I don't know if they do it up north, but down here they have like these little mats that they used to put on top of the changing table so that your baby didn't have to be over a bare changing table. We took like 3 or 4 of those mats, as many diapers as we could take. No, yeah, we paid for it by staying at the hospital, so we took all of that shit.
Leaving with something.
You know what I'm saying? Leaving here with something from around the way.
Yeah, facts. They're gonna be like, "Why you bring that big extra bag?" Oh,
don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. It'll be full. I'm leaving. It's for the baby. It's for the baby. You know. Yeah, but man, hey, brother, we appreciated having you on, man. I know you're not a podcast guy. This is our first time having an official guest that you do this stuff for a living. So it's nice of you to bless the mic on your day off, man. We appreciate it having you on, my brother. And again, just we wishing you and your lady multiple blessings in these next couple weeks. Hopefully, she don't have to wait much longer after the 21st. We're hoping for right on that day.
Well, look, I have fun, man. Thanks for having me on. I'll do this whenever, bro. And Malik, I love listening to y'all too. So keep doing your thing, man. It's cool. Y'all don't try to be anything but yourselves, and that's kind of lost in this day and age.
Yeah, man, we appreciate it, brother.
Hey, plug yourself. Let the people know. You know what I'm saying? Where they
where they can find you. Socials and all of that.
Social, Twitter, Instagram at J Dumas Reports. The letter J, Dumas Reports. And if you're in the Philadelphia area, the greater Delaware Valley, 6ABC. Everybody knows Action News. That's the top station in the market. You can catch me there 5 days a week too.
If you're not watching 6ABC to get your Philadelphia sports news and just news in general, what are you doing? Honestly, you know what I mean? You need to be watching that. It's the best in the business out here, and the rising star, already a star, but he's continuing to rise in the media space. So shout out to you, Jason, and again, like we do at the end of all of our pods, man, we appreciate every single person that's ever listened to an episode, ever listened to a minute, ever clicked like, offered words of encouragement, spread the word, shared a post, anything positive that has gone into making us who we have been. We appreciate absolutely everything that y'all do to make us who we are. Malik and I, we are going to, I don't know when officially, we'll probably relatively soon go on a quick hiatus just to update some things with the pod, just to make sure that everything is fully copacetic, reassess everywhere that we at. We'll probably still come back for major events depending on how long the hiatus has to be before we get everything back up and running perfectly the way that we want it to run. But we don't want people to think that, oh no, we're gone for another 5 years. Like, no,
we're not
the case.
We're not going anywhere, y'all. We're just tightening up. That's all.
Just tightening up the bolts and everything. We came back this week. We couldn't pass up the opportunity to get my boy JD on. But yeah, we'll be taking a quick break just to get everything, all our I's dotted and our T's crossed, and we'll be coming back with a new look and some new sounds and the same wonderful content that y'all have gotten to love over the years since 2014. So bear with us. But every major event, I know we'll be back on for the NBA draft because Philly's going to find a way to piss me off. and we'll take it from there. Hopefully, it won't be much longer after that. But we'll get back up and running, and we'll be back with you guys. We thank y'all. It's been another episode of the No Rules Podcast. Peace.
Peace.